is Persephone, right? Like Persephone, who is the daughter of Zeus and Demeter. Okay, she of course is the wife of Hades, right? Through some tension. The crazy thing about it is, like, they forget in the story that he had asked Zeus for permission for her hand. I'm not saying that it makes it any better. Clearly, she wasn't down with it, but it is the he was going about it like per their system. Again, I of course don't agree that it's the correct thing. She is all about flowers, spring, and the growth, because when she's gone, her mother Demeter is so sad that screw all the rest of us, right? It's just going to be dark with no plants and no sun and no food, nothing, if I can't have my daughter back. It's very personal. She's also associated with the dark crown of the underworld. She is a radiant goddess with dark robes adorned with roses, holding a pomegranate, usually standing with her with Hades, right, or her husband, or whatever he is at this point. And the pomegranate is important because that was her bond to the underworld. When Hades went and snatched her up and brought her back to the underworld, he's like, yeah, he didn't hurt her, he didn't do anything, outside of literally grabbing her, right, and kidnapping her. He wasn't rough with her, and he just said, okay, you're gonna wait. I know you're hungry. So he pulled the okie doke on her, like because she ate food from the underworld. Now she had to return her. Now all he needed was to get that pomegranate seed in her. What the symbolism of that is, I really don't know. But she operates now eternally as this underworld administrator with Hades. Like she is the earth with her, and the earth, she is within the earth, and her mother is the earth, who is Demeter. So that kind of all works together when we talk about who she actually is, like, kind of where the character, where she comes from, like where she fits. And again, this was never her choice, but now she's here, and she seems like she accepted it. Again, this is their explanation for the seasons, is her descent here. So her myth itself is all about death and rebirth, fertility cycles, the hidden power and beauty of the underworld. That's the thing. Like Persephone, in all of her iterations, always represents beauty. This is what we know about her, and I'm going to give you guys a couple examples of how this character gets represented. Right, like this is where's this first one here? Okay, if it's going to allow this thing, like, you never know, right? This is the Percy Jackson representation of Persephone. Okay, and you notice they used Rosario Dawson, right, who makes this amazing Persephone, because Persephone got snatched up because she was hot, right? She was a goddess beauty herself, and so that's always been a part of maintaining Persephone. And I'm going to show some other images. I have some more, but this is how, like, Percy Jackson really captured, like, what the appeal of this deity was. Like, she was said to be this, like, mythically beautiful. They kind of downplay it in some of the stories, but this is kind of who Persephone is, right? Persephone in Greek myth, and for me in K, I want to find this other image because she stays on the scene. Like, Persephone stays on the scene, and this is a different way that they represent her. Let me see if I can get her. And this is like the story. This is again the story of Chaos. It's another Greek adaptation story. I don't know if it's going to come up. Let's see if I'm trying to grab one that comes up. Okay, this one should. And this is a very different take on Persephone here. And this is from Chaos, right? And here's the thing. Like, they have her in kind of a severe, with the glasses and the hair up. But this lady here, they don't show an image. It's just absolutely like this kind of curvy kind of goddess figure. So they perpetually do that is a part of her. But in this form, she is far more administrative Persephone. And she's definitely a part of the team. Like, she's more tight in her role with Hades. They're more united in how they get down. So this is what she represents in her role. Now, historically, we've been talking about her since the Homeric hymns. We're talking 7th century, 6th century, and the most important one is obviously the hymn to Demeter. It's the one that actually manifests all the stories that we get. Like the primary stories that we get about her come from there. This is the foundation. Abducted by Hades. Demeter searches the earth. Crops fail. Zeus intervenes. Persephone now gets to come to part of her time on the surface, but part of the time in the underworld. That's why we have the cycles, the cycles of the season, right? Right, and that seems to be fine for all of them. So this deity type we've kind of been talking about for a long time. Obviously, we have to deal with the underworld, and we've dealt with the underworld in various ways. These three are just representations of that at different levels. We see kind of an administrator task, a greeting task, and then she often, Persephone that is often related to the maybe you get to come back. Maybe this, she works down at there's a division of hell, and they call it the maybe you get to come back, right? Office. And she's the one who runs it. And she made Hades give it to her because she just argued and she wouldn't stop. And he's like, okay, sometimes people will get to come back. And you know what? You get to deal with it, right? You go over and deal with it. He doesn't approve that. I mean, they only get a couple, right? She only gets a few, but she fought to get those two. She symbolizes hope of return. That's because she gets to return. So she means that maybe every time she comes up, she gets to take two people along with her. Let me bring these two guys back, right? Just put them on my card, right? They'll carry my bags to the underworld and then they're free. So maybe that's how she allows it. But we have to thank her for doing that because that's a part of the tale that comes along with Persephone. She's the hope that I can get out of this underworld eventually, right? Like probably not, but I'm hoping for it. And this is where she represented. It's very administrative. And in the Chaos series, we actually see her do that a lot more. And in fact, like, you know what? In the Percy Jackson series, I think Grover was in the underworld. Let me see if I can find that because that's actually like very consistent storytelling. I don't know if I grab that, but that's who she is in the Percy Jackson story. No reason not to put up an image of Rosario Dawson, though, right? Absolutely not a reason to not put up this picture of Rosario Dawson. But they kind of negotiate with her to escape the underworld. So she's the key to getting out of it, right? She's absolutely the key. Like, and like, you know, Hades knows this, and every time she does it, he's just like, again. And but like every, you know, he doesn't do it all the time, but he's got to do it, right? And it's her way of like, she flexes, and she's like, no, you're going to give me this. So because she's representing her authority in the underworld. And that's what each one of these figures is really doing, is representing the female authority in the underworld. And we see that. Each one of them has a control. They're not bystander characters. They're all deeply rooted in the belief system. Now, in each one of them, how we perceive them as humans, that kind of says, you know, a different kind of psychology. Persephone was, again, this maturation that she became an adult or a woman during this time in the underworld. So that was her transition, coming of age. Sexual awakening, right? This is true. Loss of her innocence and these seasonal cycles are all set to be put in that. She goes from being a girl to being a woman. When she descends into the underworld, this is the initiation of her adulthood. You are a wife now, and they don't run away from that in the Greek telling the story. Hell herself, she represents the acceptance of this is inevitable. Like, I don't care what you got. You ever see someone where like, I don't even have to chase you. I'm not even going to chase you because I don't care. That's how much. In fact, you running is probably going to get you here a whole lot faster. You know you're out of shape. You running away from hell will probably get you caught up even faster because we all know that you're out of shape, and she knows it too, right? Everybody dies. She embodies this idea. It's not dramatic. You don't have to cry every single time something happens. It is simply the end of life. She is a calm authority that reflects this Norse concept of fate, right? They had a word, and what they call it, right? It's fate. You cannot escape destiny, but you can try and meet it with dignity. So have some damn respect for yourself, right? That's the cold truth of what we are, which is mortal beings, okay? Brigitte, of course, is the represent who's like close to the living. The dead are not gone, right? In that Votum system, you still have access to your ancestors, to your people. That's why you pour out a little bit for them, because they're always around, right? They're not gone. And that the existence between the underworld and their spiritual world and this world, it's a thin barrier. It's like this. Sometimes you can poke through, and if you go to liminal spaces like swamps or caves, you can get through that bad boy, get to the other side. And that means other stuff can come over too. So she governs those spaces, graveyards, ancestral spirits, justice for the dead, right? Personally, she's known to be foul-mouthed but funny. She's very protective when it's people. So she's not silent. She's going to be all around talking all the time. In pop culture, Hell has appeared in several movies and throughout the Marvels, including 2017 Marvel Ragnarok. We see a new representation of her played by Kate Blanchett, and she's a very different type of goddess than what we see in the movies, because even her parent has changed, and now she's Odin's former executor in the movies, despite the fact that she was Loki's daughter, so not even related to him. Persephone has come around, and she's still one of the most frequently reinterpreted myth figures. She gets almost as much run as anybody for her role, because we love Persephone. We see her character is the character in The Matrix. The Monica Bellucci character is inspired by Persephone. Like, he is Hades. He controls the realm. She's the side lady who's like, yeah, you better do this. That's who she is. Like, that's a role. And it's very similar to what we see with Rosario Dawson's character. And in the Netflix series Chaos, she appears as a more political, like she's playing the political game. Her and Hades have to kind of navigate Zeus and Zeus's psychosis while keeping administration of the underworld all under wraps. So each one of them gives us like absolutely true purpose to why they're here, and it's great. Like Brigitte, in that modern sense, is linked to like comic books and supernatural TV and horror games. So she stays on point all the time. People dress up at her. Like, I'm sure there's some crossover with the Dia de Muertos whole symbolism and festival. And this is what it is. She's the cemetery queen. She's always there. You can reach out and touch her any freaking time that you choose. And that's what we get from these characters here. So that's the MythLab